People think they need to do all sorts of things that they don't need to do in order to be successful. They think they have to take a lot of very difficult, very challenging actions, when in reality, success is built by taking a small number of imperceptibly small actions that build up over time to success. So, if you want to take the pressure off yourself, if you want to learn how to get to success in a doable fashion, then watch the rest of this video. I'll explain step by step what you need to do and how you need to shift your mindset in order to get there. I'm going to start with my own story. For many years, I wanted to be a screenwriter. And I think this is emblematic of the kind of headspaces that people get into. I was very stalled as a screenwriter. It was very difficult for me to sit down and write. And the reason was because I thought, okay, first of all, I have to come up with a great idea. And then I need to come up with 100 great supporting ideas. And so all of that pressure, all of that weight was so heavy that I couldn't move, I couldn't perform. And so what finally turned out to be the answer for me was to do something very simple every day that I knew that I could do. I knew that I could show up and I knew that I could write. And to be a writer, the most important thing to do is to write. Now, this applies across whatever it is you want to do. And I'll talk about where I first learned this and how I've applied this to all the other sort of things I've been successful with in my life. So what I learned to do was, and this is specific to screenwriting, but this worked really well for me, is I said, I can write one screenplay page a day. And so I sat down and I just wrote one screenplay page. And I did it as simply as possible. I did like guy one talking to guy two. It's like, hey, do you want to rob somebody today? Yeah, sure. And they would just have this conversation. And that's where it started, right? Didn't start out amazing. Over time, what would happen is I would generally write between 2 and 3 pages. So I noticed pretty quickly, here I am writing at the rate that a screenplay writer could finish a screenplay in 30 days, a rough draft. And the big mistake I made was, again, putting too much pressure on. I said, I'm going to write a screenplay. But having to connect the dots in a story and figure all that out was too much pressure. So the big answer in terms of how to be successful is you have to figure out a way to show up every day and take the pressure off. Take the pressure off. So the basic idea of this, my favorite quote from Arthur Ashe, one of my favorite quotes in this realm is, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can do. That's the key. So this whole video is not about doing something great. It is about getting to do something great. It is about how you do great things, but it's not having to figure out the great action you need to take. It's what's the simple action I need to take on a daily basis? That's the key to this whole thing. And answering that question is kind of the important thing. And here's another thing I want you to sort of take the pressure off with. To improve your life, to make it better, you don't have to do something that you're not willing to do. The real trick to this is finding, what are you willing to do? So in my life right now, I sort of really revolutionized my exercise program. I'm on day 308, I think, in a row of exercising, which I haven't done before in my life. I've understood the principles, but I never applied it to working out. And so obviously that's great, showing up and doing that consistently. And I spent months working out like this routine where I get both my mobility and I get my strength training and I get my cardio from pickleball. So I've really like gotten myself on a track that's really good. And then in order to maintain it, I just have to do the simple workout every day. Same principle, just the simple workout every day, and it adds up over time. Okay. So now I'm sort of taking this and I'm applying it to my diet. I used to do keto. I used to do intermittent fasting. So I'm coming back and I'm experimenting. What's cool is I now have a continuous blood glucose monitor. And so I can really see what works for my body. So I'm doing all this experimentation. But what I'm doing is I'm only doing the things that I can stand doing. I'm not trying to force myself to do something that's not comfortable. I'm looking for the ways that I can succeed. And that's the point of all of this is, like, they're doing so much research and exercise these days. Let's say you want to revolutionize your exercise. They're learning that somewhere between 4 and 9 minutes, of activity can replace this half hour that we're supposed to do every day. Um, and so you don't have to do that much. And the message behind that is everything you do matters. So find out what you're willing to do. Find out that small change. And it can apply to anything. So let's say it's cleaning your house. A thing I like to do with things like that is like set a timer for 5 minutes and say, I'm going to work on it for 5 minutes a day. And what you notice over time is that you spend more than 5 minutes. And so you say 5 minutes isn't enough, but it's the getting started that's the hardest part, getting over that initial resistance. And these are the techniques and these are the tools that will help you do that. So look at the realm that you're trying to succeed in, whether it's relationships, whether it's exercise, whether it's getting a hold of your finances, find out the change that you can make that you can actually sustain and make that change. And it applies to anything. It applies to like your bedtime. Like a successful morning, a successful day usually starts with when you wake up and how you deal with the morning. And a lot of people sabotage themselves by staying up too late. So you can start to adjust your bedtime and you can do it slowly over months of going, okay, I'm going to go to bed 5 minutes sooner. And once I'm used to that, I go to bed 5 minutes sooner. Once I used to that, I go to bed 5 minutes sooner. Like right now, I'm working on eating not as late at night. So I'm like shifting everything around during the day so that I'm nice and full for my last meal and that leads me into my sleeping. So again, this principle of what am I willing to do and to not force it. Like, like for example, I use vanilla stevia like to sweeten my tea. And the highest recommendation is like, well, don't do that. Don't, if you're having a fast, don't use any kind of sweetener. And I'm like, okay, I'm not willing to do that. I'm willing to fast and go without food, but it's like a little vanilla stevia. That's where I'm at today. Maybe in the future I'll be able to handle more. And that's kind of the important thing to understand. Where is your nervous system at? What's the simple change I can make? Because what you're really dealing with at the end of the day for all the changes you want to make is adapting your physiology. And your physiology and this personality and the person that you are is separate and apart from your soul. And so by going and tapping into your deepest wisdom, you can start to think of things to try to adapt to your physiology so that it can slowly change over time. When you're too identified with your personality and you want to get there too quickly, and so you push and you force and you undermine yourself. Slow and steady definitely wins the race. So think about what you can apply this to. Think about how you can start to shift your life and that small 1 minute of exercise that you do. They say like going upstairs a couple times, for 30 seconds at a time. If you do that, that will impact your health outcomes. And if you get up to between 4 and 9 minutes, I think it is, it'll impact your health. Like all cause mortality goes down by 50%. And that's a lot different. Doing 4, 5 minutes of, 1 minute bouts of exercise is a lot different than having to show up and do 30 minutes of exercise every day. But even if you do 1 minute of exercise a day that you weren't doing before, that's going to make a difference. So find out, what are you willing to do? What change are you willing to make? And if you're thinking about it and you're watching this video, in the comments below, write down the one change that you want to make. And if you're having trouble figuring that out, that's one of the things that I really help people with, is to figure out what's the simplest thing. So for example, if you come to me and you say, I want to meditate every day, which I recommend, the morning regimen is where I definitely recommend you start with all of this, by the way. But if you say, I want to meditate and I say, okay, great, where do you want to start? And they say, well, 10 minutes a day. And I go, you are going to fail. That's too much for your nervous system. It's too big a shift. Start with 1 minute a day and make sure you do it for 90 days. That will start to bake that change in. And then you'll just naturally start to go longer without even having to do it. So you just keep that 1 minute minimum and you'll see. So if you want help with this, or if you want help with anything, you can look down in the comments below and you can schedule a 1 hour free consultation with me where we sit down and we look at your life. We look at the things that are blocking you the most and we start to go, okay, what is it? What's actually most in your way? Because usually it's some kind of internal block. We are the ones that are in the way. And so these techniques, the things that I talk about, are ways to get past this personality egoic system that is trying to protect you and keep you safe by keeping you stuck. That's really the sad truth. And we talk all about this in my free community called Unblock Your Brilliance. There's a link down there. You just go and join for free and check out what's going on there. We have all sorts of free challenges in this school community that are already recorded and ready to go on building habits, tapping into your intuition, finding your purpose. So go check that out. And lastly, if you've watched this long, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. And well, listen, I'll see you next time. I hope that was helpful. I hope that helped you, especially as we're coming into the new year, start to think about how can I change and what's the smallest, easiest thing I can do to change that I can stick with. Okay, good luck with it. Cheers.